Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. With me is the inventor of the infomercial and the original shark on the hit TV series Shark Tank, Kevin Harrington. Kevin, thanks so much for being here.
Excited to be here, Seth. Thank you very much.
Yes, we've got a very special guest today, New York Times bestselling author Trevor Blake. British author and entrepreneur Trevor Blake is not only the New York Times bestseller of 3 Simple Steps, he's the author of the new book, Secrets to a Successful Startup. And most importantly, he's built 3 successful startups and sold each one for more than $100 million. Trevor, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Trevor, great job. I want to ask you this. Do you live in England now?
No, I'm in Southern California and Washington. I'm kind of.
I was just going to ask. Being British, though, it obviously writing a New York Times bestseller is pretty powerful. So, how did you come to become a New York Times bestseller?
Well, I just sold my first company, and I for some stupid reason I decided to take a sabbatical, and my wife gave me that look that only women can give that said, yeah, right, that's going to happen. And then after 2 weeks of pacing the kitchen floor, she said if I didn't start something new, she was going to kill me. So I'd always had this book in my head, and it was about how I came from, I'm a late bloomer. I started my first company at 43 years old. And so I started it with $200, sold it 6 years later for $105.5 million. And I did it using the 3 simple steps because I grew up in poverty. I didn't want to turn out like my dad. I needed to change something. And the things I changed became my program, my 3 simple steps that I stole from all the biographies I read when I was a kid. And so nothing new, but just put it together in a package where people can use it. So that's how it came about. It was a survival mechanism to write this book and get out of my wife's way. And it's just taken off by itself. I mean, I didn't promote it or anything, and it had a cult following, and it's in 6 languages now.
Can you share those 3 steps quickly?
Yeah, so the first one is you have to claim back your individualism if you want to be a successful entrepreneur. If I'm preaching to the choir here, obviously, but you can't come up with winning ideas listening to other people's advice. You have to become an individual again. So it's about getting back that mentality that we were born with first and foremost. And then it's about deepening that connection, learning to use your intuition instead of using our analytical mind the whole time. And then how to direct that newfound power into intention setting. So you get really brave and set really big targets. And that's, in all the studies I've done on what make people successful, it's not connections, it's not capital, it's not even a brilliant idea, it's self-confidence and a tendency to set big targets. And so when you get that, it means anyone can do it. And so I think that's why the book is popular. Whether you're 9 or 95, regardless of your circumstances, pick it up, use some of the tools and techniques tomorrow, and off you go.
So the 3 simple steps is obviously different than Secrets to a Successful Startup. Now, you talked about the confidence to set really big goals. Obviously, you've done that successfully. Were all 3 originally $100 million goals when you set them, or did you exceed your expectations?
So I have exceeded my expectations in the third one because that was a $300 million deal. But in the first one, I set my exit strategy before I even had capital raised. So my intention was to sell for at least $100 million. I didn't have a timeline on it, but that was my intention. I knew that I had a winning idea. I knew it was going to make an impact. I knew it would be successful, but I kept focused on that end goal. That's one of the secrets. The difference between goals and intentions is that you focus on the end outcome all the time, regardless of all the crazy stuff that's happening around you at the time. And it works. I learned it from reading the biographies of, Henry Ford and Madam C.J. Walker, and how they just kept focused on this big target, no matter what terrible circumstances were happening to them. I just copied their attitudes and their plans, really, but put it in a way that is accessible to everybody. So, Secrets to a Successful Startup uses the principles of 3 Simple Steps, but it's a more practical guide, the step-by-step principles to get a winning idea first, because you have to, and again, I'm preaching to the choir here, but there's ideas and there's winning ideas, and winning ideas are typically about fixing something. So you find something to fix and you don't know what you're doing, but you'll figure it out, and off you go. And a company and an entrepreneur is born in that moment. So it's about using the same principles, but going step by step.
Can you talk a little bit about the 3 companies? Just kind of give us a quick summary of what each one does.
Yeah. So the first company was, I fell out with my CEO. We had a row over a marketing program and he refused to put money behind it. So I put my money where my mouth was, and I left the company and I bought the rights to that product that we had a row about. And it was a product for a rare disease that children have. There's only 200 children around the world. And the argument was that you cannot possibly bring this to the market because it would cost so much money to educate physicians, you'd never make money from it. But I had an idea for a business plan, a business structure. And so I put that structure together. It worked. It was successful. And what I was left with when I sold the company was the structure. And it was like a plug and play model. So then I went hunting for other ideas that would fit the plug and play model. So I started in oncology, drug research, and in radio sensitizer research. I'm not qualified for this. I'm just a sales and marketing guy. But once you set the target, you can figure it out. So the secret sauce was the business structure, which I explained in Secrets to a Successful Startup. It's really important these days that you have a structure that matches the energy of the time. Like the old hierarchical structures, they don't work anymore. The dinosaurs. So you need to have a structure that allows you to be really adaptable and very quickly. And so that's how I did it. So it's all been in medical fields, but they're completely different medical fields. One was a commercial company, the other one was a research company, and the third one is a development company.
Trevor, do you have what's the next hurrah for you, or the next plan for the future? And is there a new book in the works at all?
Yeah, well, it's already written and it's in the hands of my PR person. So it's called Success with a Balanced Life, because one of the things that I've never had another employee through the last 15 years of building companies. And I don't work more than 5 hours a day, not because it's cool, but because that's peak brain performance. Science shows that you can't focus. You can't sit at your computer for 8 hours and expect to be successful. So you've got to structure your life, productive periods, relaxation periods where the magic happens. So it's a book about that, about how, because there's a tsunami of people through COVID. It's been exacerbated through COVID, moving to a different way of moving out of the office and away from working for the man, and being independent and working from home. And it's a whole different culture.
Very timely.
Yeah. Well, I wrote it a few years ago and I called it a recession-proof guide, because you know at some point a recession is coming. And I think they're the best times to start a company. Recessions are by far the best times.
Yeah. Nice.
So you built 3 medical companies despite not being a doctor, despite not being, in the medical field. What did you learn from some of those challenges? Because normally those things would be started by like a medical researcher or some type of physician who sees and how did you sell for $100 million when the company was built for a disease with only 200 patients?
Well, I acquired the rights to more products as we became more successful. So in the end, I had 5 products, but it was small. I was doing 15 million a year, but it was 12 million profit. So I was able to sell it for 105 million based on the 12 million profit. It was like a 7 multiple of where we were at the time. I think not being a doctor, not having a preconceived notion of how this is supposed to go was probably the best attribute that I had, because I had to figure it out. And I asked myself questions all the time. Why would I do it that way? Why are they doing it that way? How come that was successful for them and that wasn't for them? So I think, and most entrepreneurs who are successful that I know go the same way. I mean, you think of the famous ones like Richard Branson. I mean, he didn't sit at home and work out a perfect airline system. He wanted to get to his girlfriend who was in the Bahamas. His flight was canceled. He charters a plane. And the next thing you know is he's got an airline, and he just figured it out from there. And I think most entrepreneurs, are born are not born as entrepreneurs, maybe don't even start out to be entrepreneurs, but they become it by default through trying to fix something. So with all my companies, it was the motivation to fix something that needed fixing. And I know, we're smart. We've got this 100 billion neurons sitting on the top of our necks. We can pretty much figure out anything. And my background is sales and marketing, so the smart sales and marketing guy then makes sure that he hires really smart people in the different functions that I'm not familiar with.
So does that mean your company number 4 will also be in the medical space, or are there any other industries you want to fix?
No, I have 2 more companies. So I have an animal sanctuary, which I want to take to a different level. I want to disrupt the animal rescue sanctuary model that exists currently. We're doing that, and I also have TrevorGBlake.com, which is I started off to support the books, but now I have 2 courses: Transformation and Secrets to a Successful Startup. And that, I'm learning digital marketing, which is new to me, and I'm a gray-haired guy, so for me to be in this field with people who are half my age is so much fun. And I'm learning a ton of things, and that is also pretty successful and has an exponential growth curve. So those are the 2 companies I run. Typically run 3 companies at the same time, and so I have in my head my next one.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
Building it's magic. So it's like anything. I mean, I feel like an artist at times more than anything else. You have a blank canvas and you figure out this amazing picture. To me, that the definition of magic is the transformation of one form of energy into another form of energy through the power of will. And I think that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We start with a completely open space. There's nothing there. We have an idea, and then when you follow a certain plan and you get the structure right, 5 years from then you're running $100 million company in terms of valuation. That's magic. And if that doesn't get your blood boiling and your heart racing, I don't know what would really.
Well, Trevor, I'm looking forward to maybe forming one of these $100 million companies together. This sounds good. I've had a few. I haven't sold them all for 100 million, but I've had 20 that built to 100 million. So you're doing really good, and I'm very impressed. And it's great hanging out with you today. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've got some catching up to do if you've had 20, so I better get to work.
What do you think? You talked about the 3 simple steps. What do you think? You're advising every day, especially with the courses and the books. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
Start. And so it was given to me by a guy who's not with us anymore, George Rothman. He was the Bill Gates of the biotech world. And I got lucky one time to be in his company for a matter of months. And he was chairman of a company that I was doing some moonlighting with. And he took me for dinner with his wife, absolutely down to the earth couple. And they'd been bird watching all day because he'd semi-retired at that point. And I was waxing lyrical, this young kid, trying to tell the guy who built Amgen for $60 billion and IQOS, which was sold to Lilly for $60 billion. I'm trying to tell this guy who's worth, billions and billions, what a brilliant business plan I have. And he put his hand up and he said, look, Trevor, you don't know what business you're in till you get in the business. It always turns out differently. Just start. Just get in. And that was such profound advice to me. And I didn't probably get it the first time he said it, but after I started my first company, going in one direction, and then the next minute somebody approaches me and says, have you looked at this as well? I would never have known about it or seen it if I hadn't actually started. And so that was the most important lesson I pass on to everybody. Don't try and figure it all out at the beginning. You need a plan, but just start,
And then talk just a little bit about the courses that are available on the website.
Yes, TrevorGBlake.com. So transformation is a personal transformation course. It's based on quantum physics because my background is physics, and I'm like probably you guys and everybody, a perpetual student of quantum physics and playing with energy. And then the other one is Secrets to a Successful Startup, which is a practical course to help you get from I would love to be my own boss, which is that was my starting point. I want to be my own boss. I'm tired of sitting in meeting rooms, all these hours of the day. And so it's a step-by-step program. So you start from nothing, and by the time you get through that course, then you have something. But I always recommend to everybody to do transformation first because it changes us, and our perception of ourselves as an entrepreneur changes as a result of personal transformation. I'm sure you found the same thing. As we experience success with companies, we change along in that process. It changes us, changes our perception, it changes our ways of doing things. So I think transformation first is very important. Put yourself in a position where you can control your success.
So Trevor, you've had many of these successes in the medical arena. Of course, COVID has brought many opportunities and challenges in medical. Do you see anything hot and heavy that is a niche that is not currently being serviced in that medical arena?
Yeah, there's a lot. I think that particularly the biotech and the pharmaceutical world, it reminds me a little bit of the banking world a couple of decades ago, in that it's slow to adopt new technology. surprisingly. And so artificial intelligence has a huge role to play in all kinds of medical aspects. And that's actually one of the areas where I'm really fascinated right now. So I am an investor in a number of small companies, a number of startups that are using artificial intelligence in the medical field where it's never been thought that there was an indication for it. And that goes all the way from trying to find patients and match them to clinical trials, to finding ways to make insurance companies more effective, to instead of using people in laboratories and animals in laboratories, using artificial intelligence to be more accurate and more predictive, which I think everybody would love to see that. So there are some startups that are in those fields, and they're fascinating. And I'm one of a number of investors in those fields, and hopefully I'm able to help a lot of it is above my pay grade, I have to say, but I'm there to help if I can.
Beautiful.
Well, we greatly appreciate your time. We know it's incredibly valuable. For our folks watching and listening, make sure you go get the new book, Secrets of a Successful Startup. Get the original 3 Simple Steps. We'll have you back when book 3 comes out. Let us know. And make sure to check out trevorgblake.com. Trevor, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Great to meet you.
Great seeing you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll talk to you or see you next time.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level, but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.